Good morning, America. How are ya? Monday morning rail. I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum. Today is Monday, and you know what we do on Monday? You guessed it, we always do show and tell. And show and tell is always brought to you by Jelsma Graphics, the people that make all the railroad embroidery clothing. Hats, shirts, jackets, you name it, anything to do with railroads. Jelsma Graphics will embroider it. We have over 1,500 logos you can choose from. You just go to our website at jelsma.com and shop and see all the selections. And now, with all that being said, show and tell is going to start right now. Show and tell starts right now. And today, as always, we have a very exciting show. Remember, last week we talked about the Illinois Central Seminole? Well, guess what? We're going to talk about the Illinois Central again, but this time we're going to talk about the Illinois Central train number 15 and 16 from Chicago to Sioux City, Iowa. It was called the Iowan, and it was three trains that went across Iowa to Sioux City on the Illinois Central. They had the Iowan, they had the Hawkeye, and they had the Land of Corn. The Iowan always had heavy weights. It was pulled by steam and later dieselized. And I have a model showing the Iowan, and we're going to talk about this Iowan. This was really a workhorse train, and this is the early paint scheme of the Illinois Central E7s, and so you never knew what was going to show up on the Western Division of the Illinois Central. And you got to remember, the Illinois Central was a huge railroad. It went all the way from the Dakotas, western Iowa, all the way down to Miami. And you just think about that. They had the city of Miami. They had the city of New Orleans, the Pan Am Limited. They had the three trains that went across Iowa. They had three basic divisions. They had the Southeast Division. They had the South that ran north and south from Chicago to New Orleans. And then they had the Western Division that went to across Illinois, all of Iowa to Sioux City. And Sioux City was a major traffic point for beef. And Illinois Central had a meat train that went once a day. Sometimes they'd have 3 to 4 of these trains in sections, and they ran them on passenger train schedules. And every passenger train was put in the hole for these meat trains that came out of Sioux City. And it was really kind of interesting. But this is their passenger train, and it's called the Iowan, and they always handle a lot of mail. It made twice as many stops across Iowa than the Hawkeye, and they had RPO. They had the baggage. A lot of Railroad Express that went there. They typically it had 2 to 3 coaches. It had a diner that had full meal service, and it was a heavyweight train. When we say about heavyweights, it was always the older cars, and then they had 2 to 3 Pullmans, and this train was about 500 miles, and so it made a lot of stops, but it was very popular and heavily patron train, and so you could see what and this. I just love this train. It's called the Iowan. A lot of people now have kind of forgotten it because it was discontinued in the late 50s. And then Illinois Central went with their 2 main trains, the Land of Corn and the Hawkeye. The Land of Corn, they kept cutting back, and finally went just from Chicago to Waterloo, which was a shame. But then that's how many of the railroads, what happened in that particular area. But the Hawkeye you could get on at Sioux City at night and sleep, and it stopped at about every major county seat town in Iowa. Took a long time to get to Chicago, but it was still a very heavily traveled train. And so the Iowan, a lot of people like to say they forgot about it, but you look on the old schedules, the heyday of the Iowan was probably in the 20s and 30s and during the war. But after the war, it was still pretty well patronized, probably until about 1950. And then from 50, it just started to really drop off. And the other two trains, and the other two trains, they put modern equipment, and on the Iowan, they just kept it with the heavyweight trains. And so this is my show and tell of the Illinois Central. And you just think about the Illinois Central, where they had such a large outreach from the western Iowa, and they even had through cars into Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And it was just, they did that to compete with the Milwaukee. And so huge railroad went through its slogan was the main line of the middle America. And so they went from the Gulf Coast all the way to the Atlantic Ocean coast. And so what a big railroad, and what a really ran railroad. And the IC kept up their standards for passenger trains all the way to the very end. And so it was really kind of a shame to see the Iowan go, but it was still a very heavily patron train, and it is remembered in my train. Now, I hope that everybody liked in my little train of the Iowan. I want to thank all the people that come and see us at train shows. Number 2 and I just went to DeLand, Florida last Saturday, and we did a show, and I just thanked all the people that came up and said hi and say that they watch our videos. And I gave some What's Neat this week Ken Patterson hat away. We had 2 or 3 people that said, hey, we watch you on the Ken Patterson show. And speaking of the Ken Patterson show, on the 19th, you'll see myself and Andrew, who is America's favorite railroad nerd. We're going to St. Louis to be on the What's Neat show. So you'll see Andrew and myself on the What's Neat show on the 19th of April. And if you watch the 12th show of Ken Patterson features my personal railroad, the Jelsma Railroad, and he will show you pictures of my railroad. And then the following week, we'll be there, Andrew and I will be there in living color on that show. So make sure that you watch the Ken Patterson show on the 19th. And we thank, once again, all of our viewers. We're typically from 12 to 17,000 viewers watch us on Facebook. We just thank you, and thank you. We appreciate all the kind words that you constantly are telling us. And number 2, our cameraman, he was at DeLand, and he appreciates all the nice, kind things that people say to him. And he is going to be doing a very interesting segment on the show and tell coming up really soon. So you need to watch that. And it's a very interesting thing about hauling fish. Now, that's all I'm going to say, is he's going to do a segment on hauling fish in a boxcar. And it's very interesting then how that happened. Now, I'm going to give you a quick preview of some of the things that are coming up on the show and tell. So I don't want you to think that we forgot about your particular favorite railroad, because we put this on a lot of different sites, and we thank the admin for letting us and their viewers watch the Monday morning show and tell. So I'm going to just take a real quick brief show and tell of what's coming up. What's coming up in the future on Monday Morning Rail Show and Tell is another Illinois Central, and this was the Hawkeye, and I just have the head-end equipment that the Hawkeye had. It was famous for the flex vans, and the flex vans were very, very popular. We're going to do a segment on the flex vans and the Hawkeye, and it was kind of the sister or the sister train to the Iowan. But it lasted all the way up to Amtrak from Chicago to Sioux City, and they had these flex vans, and it was really famous. The Illinois Central had them, New York Central had them, Seaboard had them. Illinois Central ran a flex van to Springfield, but the most popular one, because they had the major mail contract to Sioux City, and we're going to be featuring this train. Then we're going to do a whole feature on the Union Pacific, and boy, we could spend days. This is one of my favorite railroads. We're going to be doing something with the UP. So Union Pacific fans, just hold tight. We're going to come to you. And we're going to do another segment on the Texas Pacific. And I really appreciate the Texas Pacific people. They've been really good fans. And here is the dome that ran on the Texas Eagle. This is a coach yard. This is a very, very nice, well done car. We're going to be doing another section for the Texas Pacific. And then we're going to go all the way back to the east. And what do we have here? We got Hickory Creek for the New York Central fans. We're going to do a whole segment on the New York Central trains. So we have that. And we're not going to forget the Seaboard. And here's the Sun Lounge. And this here Sun Lounge was custom built by our fellow club member, Mike Stamey. And we're going to show you the latest one that Coach Yard had. And we don't want to forget about the Pennsylvania Railroad. We're going to do a whole segment on Pennsylvania passenger trains. And here is give you. And then from the Pennsy, from the East Coast, we're going to go all the way to the West Coast. So you Southern Pacific and Western Pacific. And this here is a very unique car. And we're going to be talking about the Southern Pacific. So hold tight. This is what we got coming up for the next few shows. And so just wait for your particular railroad and we will feature it. And with all that being said, that's the way it is at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines and running trains is an absolute pleasure and air-conditioned comfort.